So say good vach. I hope everyone gets a chance to listen to Friday's share, going through that beautiful run that we went through on Davi Sheshna Matirin, which just in the sugya of Tarubis, it's a non-stop. You can't go anywhere without it. It's such a brilliant piece. I was very, very happy to be able to share it with you. Today's daf is a piece of cake. Mitzvah Shabbos. Just enjoy. Anyway, we begin by Nedarim. We go after Lashon B'nai Adam, what people call Nedarim, whatever they call. Again, a person has in mind what he has in mind, and therefore you go after Lashon B'nai Adam. So Hanoidim min Atmarim, Daf No Gimel Amid Aleph. If someone makes a neder not to have hana from dates, so mutter b'dvash Tamarim, he be mutter what in honey, in honey, right? Mr. Vyonios, if he makes a neder not to go ahead and eat stivonios or unripe grapes, then mutter b'chaymet stivonios. He's mutter in the vinegar of stivonios. In other words, stivonios are used more for their extract rather than what they're for. Dates can be used to both, for the etzem date and the extract of the date, the honey. Again, date honey was very, very popular in Eretz Yisrael. Stivonios, which are unripe grapes, the grape itself was not so good, but the extract, the chaymitz, was good. But since you made a neder on the grape itself, on the stivonios, you mutter in the extract. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira is of the opinion, kol sheshem toldoisai kuruya olav, anyone that the name of the tolda is on it, b'noida himenu, asa b'yoytze himenu. So therefore, he's going to aser, as we're going to see, he'll the aser dvash tamarim, because it's called the dvash tamarim. He will aser chaymitz stivonios, because since you, with the dvash tamarim, you're going to apply the name tamarim. Since the chaymitz stivonios, you're going to apply the name stivonios, he would disagree with the Tanakama and say not only is the stivonios and the tamar aser, but in fact the extract is aser as well. The chachamim matirim, and the chachamim would permit it. So we have to see. It seems to be a three-way machlokes, or less. The chachamim was saying the exact same thing as Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, as we'll see in the second. So Pashtus, now we have three shitos, two which are clear what the difference is, and one is not. According to the Chachamim, you're usher in the object itself, be it the date or the grape, but mutter in the extract. According to Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, you will be usher in both. You will be usher sai in the date or the grape, and sai in the extract. Correct? That would be the machlokes. The Chachamim matirim. Now the question is, who are the Chachamim? Are they a third shita or just a repeat of shita number one? As we're going to see, it's a third shita. Fred the Gemara, Chachamim hainu Tanakama. The Chachamim apparently are the Tanakama. It could be nayu hada. The difference is what we're going to say right now. The Tanya. Klal zeh Amar Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Reb Shimon ben Elazar says the following rule: Kol shedarkei le'achol, anything that you eat the object itself, v'derech hayotzim mimenu le'achol, and the extract is also eaten, ki goin tamarim udavash tamarim, im nodar boy asa b'yotzim mimenu. If you make a neder in the object, you usher in the object, and also noidem yotzim mimenu asa boy. And then you be usher in it. Kol she'ein darkei le'achol, but anything that's not normally eaten, but what it comes out as eaten, you'd only be usher in the extract. So here's the three shittas. The Tanakama is of the opinion that you only usher on the object, you're not usher on the extract. You'd be usher on the grape, you'd be usher on the date, you would not be usher on the extract. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira says you're usher on both. And Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, and this is the Chachamim, he says, if it's something that normally that you do eat and make a neder, then you usher in it and what comes out from it, like Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. So now the Chachamim, the third opinion, would agree Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. Let's say it's something you eat it and what comes out from it. So let's say by Tamarim, since you eat the date, you'd also be usher on the date honey. So he agrees with Yehuda ben Beseira. If you make a neder on the date, you'd be usher in the date honey as well. However, if it's something that you don't eat, only that you what comes out from it, and you make a neder, then you let's say for example stivonios, you'd be mutter in the right? You be mutter in the object itself, but usher on the Stavyanias. And this is the difference in the Tanakama and Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira says you be usher sai on the object itself and sai on what comes out of it. In the Chachamim, who are Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, they're of the opinion that you would be only usher in Yaitzami menu, but you'd be mutter in what comes out from it. So, example, you'd be mutter in the Stavyanias, but you'd be usher in the extract, in the chaimitz. So here's the difference, guys. Let's go through it one more time. We'll get it clear. The chamim is very easy, right? Grapes, only the grape, not the vinegar. Date, only the date, not the honey. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, both. Aser in both. Rabbi Shimon Elazar, who's the chachamim matirim, is kind of a hybrid. If it's something that you eat it and the extract like dates, aser in both. If it's something that you only eat the extract, you're usher in the extract, but mutter in it. So Stavyanios, you'd be usher in the chaimitz and mutter in what, and that's the third shita that no one holds like, okay? That would be the three opinions over here. Says the Mishnah, if someone makes an neder from wine, mutter biyayin tapuchin. Stam, I guess apple cider, apple wine, right? No one calls wine apple wine. Again, by Nedarim we go after Lashon B'nai Adam. So what do we mean? We mean red wine grapes. Min shemen, if you make a neder not to have enough from oil, mutter b'shemen shumshemen, sesame oil will be permitted, but of course you'll be also in olive oil. Min devash, mutter midvash tamarim, right? You'll be mutter in devash tamarim, mutter b'devash tamarim. If you make a neder from devash, I guess that means bees honey, then you'll be mutter in date honey. Min achaimitz, mutter b'chaimitz stavyanios. You'll be mutter. Chaimitz is usually wine, and not stavyanios. Min akrishim, I think, which is leek, mutter b'kaflutais, whatever that is. It's not the same. It's not. Ran says it's not the same min. Min ayerek, mutter b'yerakas hasadeh shehu shem levaya. Pirish. A yerek, vegetables. People generally eat vegetables of the gina. They're grown in a garden. In other words, that you have your backyard and you're making your tomatoes. It's homegrown. Yerakas of the sadeh are of the wild. When you make a yerek of the stama yerek is called of gina is called yerek. Stama yerek of the sada has the surname sada. This last clause, that what says shehu shem levaya, is going back on the whole Mishnah. So if you make a neder from devash, you mutter b'devash tamarim, because devash tamarim have the surname tamarim. If you make a neder shemen, then you usher in shemen, mutter in shemen shumshemen, because we call it shemen shumshemen, right? In other words, if I tell you tissues, stam, you make a neder from tissues, it's usher b'kleenex, and it's mutter in Brooklyn tissues, because the Brooklyn tissues, there's a stam when a person has in mind. So you don't, if it has a shem levaya, obviously that's not what you have in mind. So therefore the shem levaya would be for biyayin would be tapuchin, shemen would be shomshemen, devash would be tmorim, chaimitz with stavyanios. So it's going back on the whole Mishnah why it's permitted. Says the Gemara Tanya, hanoidim in Hashem in Eretz Yisrael mutter b'shemen shomshemen. You know why? Because in Eretz Yisrael they use shemen zayis. V'yasa b'shemen zayis. Ubebavel also b'shemen shomshemen umutter b'shemen zayis. So in Bavel, they use sesame oil more than olive oil. Again, depending on the locale. And again, it's one rule of thumb. What's a rule of thumb? By Nedarim, Holchim, Acher, Lashim, B'nai Adam. That's clearly. So that's what a person had in mind, because that's the norm of the community that they lived in. That's the norm of the community that they lived in. Okay. Mizeh u'mizeh, if you make both, asa b'zeh u'b'zeh, pshita. In other words, if it's a place that uses both olive oil and sesame oil, you'd be usher in both. Says the Pshita. What's the chiddush? Says like chiddush. The ruba min chad mistafkin. Most people use one. The majority of people, for example, in Eretz Yisrael, would use olive oil, and the myriad of people would use sesame. In Babel, the majority would use sesame, and a myriad would use olive. If that's the scenario, and you say shemen, then it's all asa. There's a roiv, says the Gemara, as we're accustomed to do, let's go after the majority. Kamash Malon, Sufik Isura Lechumra, a Sufik Isur Lechumra. Neder was very chomer, and when it comes to Sufik Isurim, like the Isur of Layachal Devorah, not keeping your word, we will even be chayish for the miyat, in this case in Eretz Yisrael, the sesame, and in this case in Bavel, the olives. Again, in my scenario that I gave you. If someone makes a neder from Yerakos during the 6-year span of Shemitah, and therefore they're permitted to eat both what they grow in their garden and what they grow in the fields, asa b'Yerakos hagina umuta b'Yerakos hasadeh. Stamazoi, what does a person mean? What you grow in your garden, that's mutter during the 6 years, so that's what you have in mind. You don't have in mind the Yerakos of the sadeh. You don't have that in mind. Now in the Shemitah year, you can't grow your own. So what are you going to eat? You're going to eat the Yerakos hasadeh, guys. Why? Because that's the only thing that's available to you. You can't grow your own. But what grows in the wild, that's hefker, that you could eat. So then in the Shemitah year, if you make a neder not to have enough from Yerakos, you would be usher in what? In the Yerakos of the sadeh, because that's what you had in mind, because that's what's available to you to eat. Says the Gemara, b'shvius, usher b'Yerakos hasadeh. In the Shemitah year, you be Yerakos hasadeh, umutta b'Yerakos hagina, because that stamas la Yerakos hagina you don't have in mind. Amar Rabbi Mishum Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel Amid Beis. You just told me a din that it would be usher in the Yerakos hasadeh and mutter in what you have in your house. What happens if you would import? If you would import from Yerakos hagina, then your neder changes. Then your neder you do have in mind because you could eat it. You eat the import. In other words, it's not Shemitah, so it's mutter lechol. Says more like Shanu that we learned that it's mutter b'Yerakos hagina is dafka and makom shein mevi and yerek michutz laaretz. Dafka that you don't import, so therefore you didn't have that in mind. Avol mit makom shein mevi and yerek michutz laaretz in the place where you do import, asa you will be asa afilu b'Yerakos hagina kitanoi machlokes tanoim ein mevi and yerek michutz laaretz. You don't bring an erek from chutz laaretz. We'll see why in a second laaretz, and therefore you'd only be what you'd be muta b'Yerakos hagina because you don't import. Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel, I meant no, maybe in Yerek michutz laaretz. So like Rabbi Chanina, if you make a neder, it would include what? Not only nidrei sadeh, which are Yerakos sadeh, which are available because of the Shemitah, but even it would include in your neder Yerakos hagina because you're importing them. Now, what's the reason one would not import Yerakos? Why not? My time demand the Amar ein meviin. What's the reason you would not import Yerakos? Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah mishum gush. The Chacham were goyza on the earth of Eretz of Chutz Laaretz that is coming to Mismeis. Since the Goyim did not demarcate their graves, you chayish that there may be bones in there or whatever. So they were chayish Eretz Amim. So guys, you take vegetables, you might be chayish that in the bottom of the vegetable there might be a clump of earth, which would transmit tumah. So to avoid that, they said, do not go ahead and import anything from Chutz Laaretz. That's the reason. Says the Mishnah. Mina kruv aser. Someone makes from cabbage. It's asa be asparagus. You'd be asa in asparagus. It seems that asparagus is included in the category of cabbage. Min asparagus, however, if you make a neder from asparagus, mutter be kruv. You're permitted to go ahead because kruv is the overall term. Asparagus is the specific. So you make a neder in specific. You didn't have in mind kruv, but if you made a kruv, you'd have in mind asparagus. Min agrisin. If you go ahead and make a neder from grisin, then asa ben mikpah, you'll be asa in mikpah. Mikpah is some type of thick broth that you make from grits. Grisin are grits. So stam grisin is some type of cooked grain. Rabbi Yossi Mata, Rabbi Yossi says it will be permitted. Mina mikpah, from mikpah itself, then mutter b'grisin, you be mutter b'grisin. Minha mikpah, asa b'shum, make a neder not to have be asa b'shum with garlic. Rabbi Yossi Mata, Rabbi Yossi would go in these cases would say that it's mutter. Right? We had this earlier. Min ha'adashim, asa b'ashishim. That's hacked up, fried in oil lentils. Rabbi Yossi Mata, min ha'ashishim mutter b'adashim. Again, what's the rule of thumb? If you make a neder in the more general, you'll be asa in the specific. If you make a neder in the specific, you'll be mutter in the general. Chita, which is mashma chita is mashma that it's something you bake. Wheat, a baked wheat. Chitin, which is mashma raw. shani toyim, asa behen, you be usher in them, bein bekemach, bein bepas. Whether it's in the state of kemach, which is raw, or the state of cooked, which is pas, asa. Goris grisin, the same thing. It's goris being, to make sure that I'm telling you right pshat. One is, okay, right. Grease is ground cooked grits. Grisin is raw. Shani toyim asa behen bein b'chaim bein mevushin, whether it's raw or whether it's mevushal. Rabbi Yehuda oimer koinim gris eichita shani toyim. If you say koinim gris eichita, you didn't say grisin, but you didn't say chitin. So gris and chitin are mashma cooked, guys, right? Gris and chitin are mashma cooked. Therefore, mutter lokos chayim, you'll be able to go ahead and chew it while it's raw, because the word chita means cooked. The word gris goris means cooked. Grisin and chitin, which is plural, is mashma both. Tanya Reb Shimon ben Gamliel Loimer, chita shani toyim, and chita means cooked, right? Asa lapais, that would make sense. It's asa to eat anything that's baked, umutter lokos, right? Then it's mutter permitted because chita is mashma cooked. Chitim shani toyim, also again, chitim is mashma asa lokos and mutter lapais. That's mashma raw and mutter in baked. Chita chitin. Now you're saying both. Shani toyim asa bein lokos bein lapais, whether to go ahead and chew it in a raw state or bake it. Goris shani toyim, and goris is mashma what? Cooked. Asa lavashal, to cook. Mutter lokos, and mutter to chew raw. Grisin shani toyim. Now you're going to asa raw. Shani, so asa lokos raw. Mutter lavashal. Now double lashon. Grisin shani toyim. Asa bein lavashal bein lokos. If you use both, then be asa to cook and asa to chew. I wish everyone a good tavach. Thank you for listening.